Hey everybody, this is round one of the 2018 Hare Scrambles season at Plymouth Blackhawks in Indiana. I went into this race feeling pretty good. I trained pretty hard for me, starting back at the end of January. As soon as the weather was nice enough to go ride, I started doing 38-mile trail rides, and I was feeling pretty confident going into this race. I got a pretty decent start for me here. I was kind of duking it out for between 6th and 8th, or 7th and 8th place. Right there on my left is Jason. There will be plenty of shots of his exhaust here, at least on the first lap. We were kind of duking it out. My goal this year was to go into this and really start trying to pick better lines. Last year, if you watch my videos, I was kind of a lemming right here. I kind of go off to the right. I'm still trying to stay within the 10 feet rule. As Booster said, I don't know if I've ever seen any official rule that says, you can't go outside 10 feet of the track, but, it's just kind of racer's etiquette. Now we got this big old goober on the lens, and I lost about 5 minutes of footage here, which was unfortunate because I was making some good passes, but I went down in a greasy corner here. I lost about 5 positions. And about the time that this mud gets off the lens to where we can see, I've pretty much gained those back. I watched the video real careful through this tiny hole in the kind of middle right screen. And you can kind of see what's going on, but I'm not going to bore you guys trying to look through the tiny peephole. But yeah, I figure about the time that this mud clears up, I'm in roughly the same place. And yeah, so here we are. I'm pushing pretty hard, feeling good, and yeah, it's just an issue of getting stuck behind some guys. I could have gone a little bit faster, but overall, I think I did pretty good. It was cold. I think race start we were looking at about 34 degrees. So, I've been having a little bit of trouble with my back. I've been going to the chiropractor, trying to do a little bit of rehab, and it's mostly my lower back. So this first lap I was feeling really good. The track wasn't really moved out too bad. By the end here, I didn't actually officially finish the race. I never took the checkered flag, but I ended up finishing, I want to say it was 17 out of 27. So for first race out for the year, that's not too bad. My back had basically completely seized up after 4 laps. And had I gotten a white flag, I would have forced myself to go through a 5th lap. But I never saw a white flag, so I said, well, there's no way I'm going to do 2 more laps. So I just pulled off and took the position that I got. But as you can see here, I'm riding a lot more aggressively this year than I have in the past. But yeah, bike's running good. I put a 6 Sigma jet kit in here. I thought I had the jetting pretty much dialed in last year, but the bike was running really good today. It was making a lot of power. I put a 13-ounce flywheel weight on the bike, and in some of the technical sections it helps kind of control the power, but for the most part I'm not sure that I like it in these sandy tracks. So we've got Portland Trail Riders coming up for round 2, which we all know if you've been there, there's a lot of deep sand there, and it doesn't have really tight technical areas, so it's a little more open and flowing and forgiving. So I already took the flywheel weight off for that race. I want to be able to really dig and throw the sand out of the way. So the faster the engine can rev up, the better for the deep sand situations. And I was kind of upset with how the flywheel weight deadened the power in certain areas on this track, mostly on the sandy hill climb spots. I just didn't have the quick revs to get up the hills. So again, right in front of this KTM, we got Jason Holcomb. Like I said, he and I kind of duked it out, and I was kind of trying to pick some different lines, and yeah, it was a fun track. It was a good track. The weather was good, considering the rain that we had down in this area for about 2 weeks before this race. The track was actually in excellent condition. There was some muddy spots for sure, but all things considered, it could have been a lot worse. So I think most of us were pretty happy with how the track ended up. And I do apologize about this big hunk of mud on here. Any minute now, I think in about another minute, the mud will get brushed off and we'll have a clear lens. But at this point, yeah, I was kind of getting held up. I wasn't trying to be too aggressive because it is a 2+ hour event. So yeah, better positions early tend to yield better race results, but I'm not a perfect rider, so I will fall several times. The one thing that I ordered for the bike that I still haven't gotten is a Scott steering damper. It's the one thing that I'm really noticing that I need, especially with the narrowed bars. I don't have the leverage to really power it through deep sand and mud. The front end just kind of does what it wants, and yeah, it ends up causing me to crash a lot. I tuck the front end more than I should, so hopefully that will be here before Portland. That would be really nice, because the one thing I struggle with in Portland is the front end pushing through the sand, and then it just digs in, and yeah, it never usually ends up good. So Jeff Carroll, Pony Down 418, he's got his fancy new KTM 300 with electric start, and unfortunately, you didn't see him in the start. He switched his buttons around between the kill switch and the electric start, and he just had a brain fart, and I beat him off the line even with a kickstart. So I was kind of excited about that. And then when I went down in that greasy corner, right there I was trying to make a pass on Jason, but he closed the door on me. But when I went down in that greasy corner, Jeff got by me, which you couldn't see because of the mud all over the lens. And then I think it was maybe two corners later, I got back around him, and I never saw him the whole rest of the race. Now, he finished one place ahead of me, which in his video, if you've seen it, you clearly see me pull right over to the side and let him go. And by that point, my back had started seizing up, and I was just letting people that were faster than me go, so I wasn't in their way. At that point, I knew I wasn't riding at a competitive pace, so there was no reason to hold anyone up. It was just, okay, get over, let people go, and just keep riding your race. And, at that point, I had just turned it into just basically a trail ride. Just trying to make my way back to the car, So here I can get on it, get around Jason, and I thought he was gone. I think he's gonna jump back ahead of me here in a couple turns. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah. Evidently, I let Jeff pass. He thought that he tricked me by revving his engine. That wasn't the case. Right there, that steering dampener would have helped me, because the front end just dug into the deep sand and flipped me right over. But yeah, like I said, he thought he tricked me, and just so you know, Jeffrey, you didn't trick me, and I won't be getting out of your way again. So I think this year is going to be a good battle between me and Jeff. Hopefully Jimmy will be competitive. He wasn't here at this race this time. I'm hoping that Jimmy's done some riding to get back into it. I'm optimistic about this year. I'm hoping for a top 10 finish in the points by the end of the season. Like I said, my back is really going to be what dictates it. And I'm doing everything I can to get my back in shape so that I can handle the 2+ hours of going through whoops and everything. But we're just going to have to play that by ear and see how it goes. So, we got plenty of traffic here. I'm just screwing up all over the place right now. People are going past me, and yeah. The one thing that kind of hindered my training before this race, like I said, I've been doing a lot of 38+ mile rides, mostly at the Holton Loop up in Muskegon. The only problem is I don't train with anyone. I go out when I can, so I don't generally have any time to get a hold of anybody to go ride with me. So I'm really only used to going out and pushing it as hard as I can by myself. And I do try and run a race pace, which, you know, in some cases when I'm riding by myself, I can ride faster. Other situations, you know, it's almost like the competition of having someone around you makes you ride faster than you would. In these kind of situations, you know, being that tree just jumped out and grabbed me. But in this kind of situation, we get stuck behind people, and when it's real tight single track, you know, you've just got nowhere to go. So even though you can ride faster than maybe the person in front of you, you can't get around them. So that's one thing that I've got to maybe try and simulate in my training. I'm not sure how to do that without having another bike out there to hold me up or to race with. But I'll just have to work with what I got. Yeah, it is what it is. So the suspension's feeling a little bit soft, especially through that section, the second stretch through those pines. Even on the first lap, the whoops were pretty deep, and, you know, the track only got more and more whooped out as the day went on. I don't think I'm going to have the time or the funds to send the suspension out to be rebuilt between these races. Right here, go around the guy and then slam straight into that tree. I don't even know what happened. I think I goosed the throttle just a little bit too much, and the front end came up just enough that I couldn't steer away from the tree, and just nailed it. So anyway, yeah, like I was saying with the suspension, I want to get it sent out to Factory Connection, get it rebuilt. It already has a Factory Connection suspension on it. It's just feeling like, you know, it's a little tired. it hasn't been rebuilt for a while, and the suspension that is on the bike was actually used when I put it on there. I got lucky and found a guy that was selling the suspension off of an old YZ that was already set up for me. So I purchased that, and so yeah, it probably needs a rebuild, and you know, it's possible that even the springs are getting tired. It's just I like it when the suspension's soft for going through certain terrains, but the whoops, it seems to compress a lot. And you know, I may mess around with clickers a little bit to try and get a little more out of it for Portland, but for this race, it worked really well at the very beginning, and then it was a little bit too soft and really started messing with my back. So that'll be something I'm gonna have to work with. But as you can see, now I got clean track. The engine's a little bit happier, running more up on the pipe. And yeah, like I said with that jet kit, you know, the engine was so much more crisp and responsive than it normally is. And okay, right here, the bike finally stalled out for the first time of the day. I think I've got to adjust my float. I just skipped ahead here because I lost about 8 positions there because the guys kept riding right in between me and that tree that was right to my left, and so I couldn't put my foot down to try and kickstart the bike. So ultimately, I think I ended up losing about 8 spots. But yeah, with that jet kit, because it was so cold, I left a 172 main jet in there, and the custom kit said to run a 170, so I'll be dropping that down once we get into some warmer weather. Hopefully for Portland, it'll be a little bit nicer, maybe 50s or even 60s if we're lucky. And I'll put that 170 in there to keep it crisp. And yeah, so far so good. Everything is performing really well this year. I just tore the entire rear end apart to clean and grease all the swing arm and suspension bearings. So yeah, everything should be good. Other than that, I can't really complain about anything as far as the bike's performance. It's just me that's the problem. But yeah, again, big thanks to the crew here at Plymouth. They did a really good job getting this track in shape for this first race. You know, considering that the weather was not really cooperating the way that they would have hoped. They did a really good job getting everything set up and in as good a shape as I think as it could have been for this race. It was a really nice event, and I'm going to be a little bit bummed that we're not racing a second race here this year because this is only my second time racing at this facility, but it is one of my more favorite tracks. I really like the layout of this track usually. You've got some tighter sections, but coming up here we get into some of the more open flowing areas through the woods, and those are the areas I really like. I can ride fast and just fly through there, and for somebody that rides at a skill level that I do, to be able to hit any section in the woods and feel fast is really an amazing feeling, and it's not consistent. So when you get that opportunity, it feels really good. The key obviously is just going to be to keep training and keep pushing myself. I'll get faster. If you go back and watch my first video from last year, which was at Portland, you know, you'll see I'm a lot faster than I was to begin with, and so I can I can obviously tell that I'm getting better. So to just keep going out and doing what I do. It's the only thing I can do to keep getting faster, and maybe someday I'll be as fast as that Ken Reichenbach guy, and maybe I'll be getting first places in the first race. So we're getting close to one of my favorite areas on this track. I get hung up by this guy a little bit. I was kind of trying to let him know that I was there. I know that he knows I'm there. And coming up here and just a little bit, he tries to get out of my way, but he doesn't really get out of my way. He just stops right in the middle of the trail, which left me nowhere to go because I was too close to him to react. So he just stops right there, and I had to kind of mute it because I was not happy. But yeah, any of the newer guys out there, I mean, I still consider myself a newer D14 rider, but any of the new guys out there, you know, I know this was the first race of the season, so we have a lot of guys that were first-time riders, you know, possibly didn't even get on the bike this year. If you're trying to let a faster guy through, get off the main section of the trail if you're gonna stop. It's really actually more recommended to just slow down and move over, because you'll find that you'll tend to crash if you stop. So just kind of slide over to the side, give enough room so that people can get past you, and keep riding your race. You'll end up faring much better. So right here, I'm gonna blow past him, and this was one of my favorite sections of the whole track. This was the fast downhill section right along the roadside there, and every time I went through here, I was just pushing it, and it felt amazing. I loved it. Basically all the way through to the finish line. I was a little upset, you know, we've got a ton of photographers right in this area. There was not one picture of me through that whole section riding really fast. And I swear, I mean, there must have been 200-300 pictures through that section, and not one of them was me. I was really hoping the way I was riding through that section that somebody would have gotten one good picture, but it was not to be for me. So right here, I definitely could have gone around this guy. I should have. As you'll see, kind of messes me up being behind him, leaving the timing 10th. But yeah, I felt like I shouldn't pass him because we were getting into the tape sections. Even though we hadn't really gotten into the scoring area yet, I thought, well, it's roped off. Maybe they don't want us passing right through this whole area. So I just fell in line, and right on this corner, I just got blasted with mud, and I'm still not used to having stuff thrown at my face and it not being able to get into my eyes, so even though my goggles were on, I closed my eyes for a split second and made me turn to the right and go through the tape there. So that was my bad. And through this section, I really wanted to just let it fly, but the grassy areas were really unpredictable. There were spots that were really tacky and felt really good, and then there were other spots that were really, really greasy. And because it was my first time through those areas, even though this is now the second lap, I was really being kind of timid because, you know, I took a couple spills in the grass areas already, so I didn't want to crash again because obviously it takes a lot more energy to pick the bike up than it does to just keep a decent pace and keep it upright. So right here, you know, this ended up being my second favorite spot on the whole track because you can get up in fifth gear and just rip through it. But once you hit this spot right here, you better get on the brakes because you need to get slowed down for this. Okay, so that was a whole first lap. Now we're going to kind of shift into just a random bloopers reel, whether it was me crashed or somebody else. Just have a good time. This guy slams his brakes. I almost took him out. That was a close call. This guy tucked the front end in the sand just like I did going around the corner. I wanted to stop for him, but he looked like he was alright, so I kept going. There's a muddy corner, couldn't get the front end to bite and just hit the tree. This guy, I felt really bad. Obviously, he didn't intend to do that. I was cussing and swearing, and you'll hear him say sorry. I didn't say anything to him about it being okay, and so I apologize. I was not mad at you. I understand that, you know, falling is part of racing. I was just frustrated with the situation, so my bad. This spot here is the Sandy Hill climb. Bike died. By this point, this was, I believe, the fourth lap, and that sand had gotten so loose and so deep, I was dying trying to get the bike up off the ground, and I had everything I could do at that point just to get the energy to pick it up and finish this race. So, like I said, I rolled through the timing blocks here, no white flag, and I decided, well, I can't do 2 more laps. So maybe heads up for the race coordinators. If you're going to show a white flag, just leave it out. Because, you know, a lot of times you guys wave the white flag for like 2 or 3 minutes. Nobody else knows that it's the last lap. So, you know, like I said, I would have gone 1 more lap if I'd have known, and I would have beat Jeff. So I blame them. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys at Portland.